In the wake of last year's deadly shooting at Los Angeles International Airport. A TMZ camera crew happened to be in that terminal that day back in November and captured this terrifying video.
Come on, you guys.
And there certainly was reason to run. 39-year-old Mr. Hernandez became the first TSA officer killed in the line of duty, and the shooter also injured two other officers as well as a traveler. Now, among the many recommendations in the report released today, armed airport police officers at all security checkpoints during peak hours, that's one recommendation. Increased security at ticket counters and other areas where passengers gather. Mandatory active shooter training and exercises, and twice yearly evacuation drills. Now, this comes on the heels of a different report, a separate government report on TSA's body language training, questioning how well the program works given its hefty $1 billion price tag over the last several years. So Tom Blank is the right guy to talk to about this, former deputy director of the TSA. And Tom, let's just start with armed TSA officers, because the TSA officers are the ones that are looking for the bombs, the knives, the guns, anything bad inside a traveler's luggage or on a person. So I guess it didn't really always dawn on me that they didn't really have a line of defense. What line of defense is existing right now at airports?
Well, TSA works closely with local and airport police agencies to determine how to position law enforcement personnel across all major airports. Sometimes they're present at the exit lanes. You'll see armed LEOs at the exit lanes that can respond. Other times TSA has worked out response times, a certain amount of time where a law enforcement officer would have to be come to the checkpoint when alerted of an active shooting situation. I think what you've seen as a result of the Los Angeles situation is TSA is going to change that up. They're going to train more. They're going to use better technology, which means they want to alert law enforcement officers more quickly of an active shooter situation. And you're seeing them change the tactics. And the tactics will be a more visible law enforcement presence at peak hours at the actual checkpoint, but also in the ticket lobbies.
And let me just stop you there, Tom. You keep going on that line of thought, but I want to be clear for our viewers that the TSA agents that we meet now when we're in an airport line, this report isn't recommending that they're armed. It's that there's actual police officers? Is it, local police? Is it airport police that are specifically trained, that carry weapons that are marked differently than the TSA? Do we have that right?
Yes. As part of this review process, it was considered by all the stakeholders, both private sector, airport, and TSA and other federal agencies, as to whether or not it made sense to arm TSA officers. And that was rejected, as it was rejected to give them bulletproof vests and that sort of thing, but simply to beef up the capability of armed law enforcement officers to respond more quickly and have a more visible presence.
Now, what are the other recommendations? Mandatory active shooter training and exercise. As we also mentioned, increased security at ticket counters. I guess it sort of surprised me, Tom, that wasn't mandatory to begin with an active shooter training and exercises, or was it? And this is just adding more.
This is actually adding more, but I think one of the dangers of the distance that we have between today and 9/11 is our guard goes down a little bit. We have a tendency to think we've returned to normalcy when in fact the bad guys' interest in the aviation sector continues. So this is a violent reminder of that interest, and the enhanced training requirements should bring our vigilance and what we call domain awareness. It should raise it.
Just real quick here, are you worried at all about communication, though? That was a big concern by local police officers when the TSA got badges. They were worried that people are going to confuse who's the authority at the airport. And now if we're adding more armed guards and more personnel, are you worried about a bureaucratic issue?
Well, not really, because, again, that was one of the things that was reviewed by the task force, and it was determined that gives them a certain air of authority that is actually useful and not detrimental in carrying out their jobs.